So when are we getting a Best Animal Performance category at the Oscars? Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2023 Toronto International Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2023 French courtroom drama, Anatomy of a Fall. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Anatomy of a Fall stars Sandra Hüller, Milo Machado-Graner, and Swann Arlaud, and was directed by Justine Triet. It tells the story of an author, Sandra, who must try to prove her innocence after her husband is found dead from a fall outside of their secluded home. Doubt can be such a compelling thing in a film, when used correctly. Audiences generally don't like to be intentionally misled, because it leaves them feeling tricked or duped, but people do like a good mystery. A certain degree of uncertainty or ambiguity can be just what a film needs to really grab people. This can come in the form of a genuine whodunit plot, but it can also come through in the presentation of a slightly less classic mystery story. Sometimes this is done through the use of an unreliable narrator. Other times these seeds of doubt are planted by presenting characters in an overly sympathetic light. But every now and then, a film will give you so much information that you can see all of the possible perspectives on a particular scenario. When every perspective and every possibility seems like it could be the truth, it makes them all seem equally doubtful. And that is the type of story we're presented with in Anatomy of a Fall. On paper, Anatomy of a Fall sounds like a pretty standard crime thriller. A husband is found dead, his wife is the prime suspect, and she strives to prove her innocence. It's a familiar type of story in this genre, and if all it had was this plot, it wouldn't be particularly memorable. But what really makes the story stand out is the way in which it's presented to us. Everything in this film is designed to make us doubt. We as the audience don't know what happened to the husband. Was the fall an accident? Was it suicide? Was it murder? And if so, who did it? So we're in the same boat as the investigators, but the film doesn't focus on their perspective. Our main characters are Sandra and her son Daniel, which puts us as viewers in kind of a weird situation. We're naturally inclined to want to root for the protagonist, but throughout the detailed investigation and the extremely compelling legal testimony, we're confronted with this web of contradictory information. It forces our allegiances to continually shift. It makes us second-guess character motivations. It makes us suspicious of everybody, questioning every action and statement. The defense, the prosecutor, Sandra, her son. We get to a point where only the dog is above suspicion. And the film will probably have you second-guessing that as well. Anatomy of a Fall is a very detailed and methodical legal thriller. Almost overly so, with just how iterative and mundane some of the investigation is. It feels very naturalistic, like you're not watching a movie, but rather a real case. The details and stepwise nature of it all contribute to that naturalistic feel, as well as the uncertainty and ambiguity of the case, but the biggest contributor is definitely the strength of the performances. Sandra Hüller, in particular, is phenomenal. This is a film that really hinges on her character, and she delivers a powerful and very fitting performance. She somehow manages to be both sympathetic and suspicious at the same time. You could envision a scenario in which she's innocent just as easily as you could imagine one in which she's guilty. She gives this amazing mix of frustration and confusion and fatigue and exasperation and annoyance, which, again, is completely understandable in the situation, but also maybe a little suspicious. Milo Machado-Graner also gives a great performance as her son Daniel. Again, there's this mix of innocence and doubt. How much does he really know? Is he just a kid in a horrible situation, or is he covering something up? And of course, no discussion of the performances here would be complete without mentioning Messi, the dog in the role of Snoop. His Palme d'Or win at Cannes was well deserved. This film is part police procedural mystery, part legal investigation, and part gripping courtroom drama. Each of these components stand out at one time or another, but underneath it all, this film is an intense family drama. The "did she do it?" question is at the heart of the trial, and certainly at the forefront of our minds, but the longer we watch, it becomes increasingly clear that the answer to that question is less important than the reasoning behind why we have to ask the question in the first place. Yes, this film takes a detailed approach to everything, so the title can be interpreted literally. But this isn't just about the physical fall of a man, it's an examination of the fall of a relationship, the collapse of a marriage. And all of the details of this, both in and out of context, are put on display for dissection and interpretation during the trial. It's a story about guilt and blame and mistrust, but not solely as it relates to a death. Anatomy of a Fall is such a well-crafted film. I enjoyed it quite a bit when I saw it at TIFF, but it's one that I appreciate even more the more I think about it. The ambiguity and uncertainty here are just so interesting. The more layers that are peeled back in search of the truth, the more uncertain it all becomes. I realize that a 2.5 hour long dialogue heavy film in multiple languages won't be for everyone. It's the type of movie that asks for your full attention and gives you far more information than you're probably prepared for. It's slow, it's methodical, but it's worth it, because it's also engrossing and thought-provoking and multi-layered. This film is many things, but this is easily one of the most gripping courtroom dramas we've had in recent years, made even better by the thematic scope uncovered and examined during the trial. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has got to be the performances. This film may largely be a legal procedural courtroom drama, but it's one that's highly character-based. We've only got a few key players here, and how they factor into not only the mystery, but also the investigation and aftermath is really compelling. The major standout is Sandra Hüller as Sandra, the woman whose husband falls to his death. She gives an exceptionally strong performance, fighting to prove her innocence while trying to protect her son at the same time. It's a unique performance for this type of role, because she manages to exude both guilt and innocence at the same time. Milo Machado-Graner also delivers a multifaceted performance, in a role that expands as the film proceeds. And of course, we've got to give a bark out to the canine star of the film, Messi, in the role of Snoop. The second pro is the script. I've always been a fan of courtroom dramas and have watched many a legal battle play out on screen. They're often full of inspirational closing statements and intense moments of jury deliberation, but few manage to be as stressful and engrossing as this. Everything here was well written, but the courtroom sequences were beyond gripping. When I watch films, I bring a little notebook to take notes in while I watch. I've done it enough that I don't even look when I'm writing. Not that I'd be able to see in the dark anyway. But my point is, it doesn't break my concentration. It's just second nature to jot down notes as I watch. But I was so engrossed by the testimony and questioning that I actually forgot to take notes for a good chunk of this film. On the con side, I've only got one fairly minor issue, and that's the pacing. So this isn't a big problem, nor is it one that's present throughout the entirety of the film. The investigation and most of the courtroom stuff feels like it breezes by with how tense and naturalistic it is. But there are some moments, usually at home after courtroom sequences, that feel a bit slow and like they're unnecessarily dragged out. This is a long movie, over 2.5 hours long, and even though it crams a lot of content and character development into that time, there are a few moments where you do start to feel the length, no matter how captivated by the story you are. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Anatomy of a Fall or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Anatomy of a Fall 4 out of 5 paws. It's a gripping story of truth and uncertainty that takes its time to spin a web of intriguing possibilities, especially during its engrossing courtroom scenes. It's a very methodical movie that can be a bit slow at times, but its focus on character, not to mention its strong performances, prevent it from ever feeling cold or clinical. I would recommend Anatomy of a Fall to people who like courtroom dramas and those who enjoy crime mysteries. This film is an intriguing blend of the two, taking us through the investigation of a suspicious death and the ensuing trial. It's a very methodical story, and maybe a bit slow or overly detailed for some people, but if you want some engrossing testimony and crime scene investigation, this has plenty to offer. If you liked Anatomy of a Fall, I would recommend A Cry in the Dark, also known as Evil Angels. Based on a true story, this is another courtroom drama legal investigation film that'll keep you guessing. As another story that focuses on a family tragedy, it offers up some incredibly gripping and frustrating testimony, spearheaded by an unsurprisingly strong performance by Meryl Streep. If you want another mother-centric French courtroom drama, you might want to check out Saint Omer. This film is presented from the point of view of an author observing the trial, but it's another really gripping legal drama that keeps things ambiguous and uncertain. If you'd like something with a little more action and a little less pure dialogue, you should watch Gone Girl. It's a reversal of sorts from what we see here, focusing on a man dealing with the disappearance of his wife and the ensuing personal and legal issues. It's a very twisty story that may offer a slightly more satisfying conclusion than the other films on this list. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Anatomy of a Fall? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite courtroom drama? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insider information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or add it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.